AM 830 WCRN.
I am only one a burning desire. Let me stand next to your fire. Let me stand next to your fire.
All right, everybody. Second hour of the Tom and Chuck Show is brought to you by JetSmarter. If you would like to earn $1,500 in free JetSmarter flight credit, you want to text flight credit to 508-863-2609. We'll give you the promotional code. You can learn how you can fly private jets at huge discounts. And in this part of the program, let me tell you something. This is a treat for all you political junkies out there, because we have on the line with us Mark McKinnon. He's the co-creator of the Smash Showtime documentary-style show called The Circus that takes you on an inside peek into the political campaigns. And what a year it's been. Mark, thanks for joining us on the program.
Hey, glad to be on. Thanks. You know, when we first pitched this idea to Showtime, and we talked about a name for the show, and we came up with the idea of The Circus. Everybody was at that. This was like 2 years ago, and we thought, oh man, that might be a little over the top. Maybe that's kind of overdoing it to call it The Circus. And then, of course, we entered this election, and circus might be a mild term for what's going on here.
Well, you can say that again, and I know I'm just blessed to have you on, because in the midst of the two conventions, I'm sure you're either in Philadelphia or on your way there. But tell me a little bit of what goes into a production like this from a TV standpoint. I mean, at one point you had X amount of candidates that were in the teens, and now we're narrowed down to two. Yeah. How did that all work? And you guys got the program on the air. It was like real time almost.
Well, it's a massive production challenge, and I pitched this show for about 10 years, and TV network executives, I had two things happen. One, they said, I love the idea, and then they said, it's impossible to do. You just can't do this. Because to me, the idea of the show is what you said. It's a real-time documentary. So the concept is, rather than watching a documentary a year after the election, you watch it in real time or very close to real time. And to me, that seemed like a really powerful idea, because we would, put you in the cockpit of a campaign, which is so interesting anyway, just to see all the players and human drama that the news rarely reveals, but also to do it as the news is happening. So, that makes it much more dramatic, because as we're watching it, none of us know the end of this story, which creates an element of suspense. And so, but to actually make this show, it means that we're producing a documentary every week, and we have 60 people working on it. We shoot around the clock, Monday through Saturday. I was up all night last night until 6 o'clock this morning, editing tonight's show, and then we do all that and get up in the, and this afternoon I got to go do it again. And it's really hard work, but it's paying off. I mean, the response has been fantastic, and I'm very proud of the show, and people who like politics, and even people who have a casual interest in politics, are tuning in because they're finding it's a fun, loose, fast, dramatic way to get to do just a weekly hit on what's going on in politics.
And you're no stranger to the political scene. Obviously, your resume goes back quite a bit in terms of your involvement with political campaigns, which notably were on both sides of the aisle, both Republican and Democrat. And I think that adds, you can definitely see, and I know this is very rare in the media, an objectivity to the whole thing. And I don't know if that's something that is intentional, or because there must be internal debates on, are we favoring one over another? Are we, responsible for, showing honest moments from, say, Bernie Sanders, and more, critical or less honest moments from somebody like Hillary Clinton? You must go through that, correct?
Sure. I mean, first of all, I have a long history of, as you said, I worked for Democrats for 15 years, and then for the next 15 years I worked for Republicans. So I've always kind of been just left of the middle or just right of the middle, and I started helped start an organization called No Labels, which is really interested in kind of problem solving on both sides of the aisle. So I think with a lot of these people, they know that I'm not a harsh partisan, just trying to reflect some point of view, but also more importantly, after I had this idea, I knew that I needed a lot of help to get it done, and I wanted to find the two best people in the business, in the journalism business I could find, and that's Mark Halperin and John Heilemann, who wrote Game Change, really well-known guys who have tremendous respect and credibility as being honest brokers. So we work super, super hard to make sure that we're not trying to push any point of view. And I guess probably the best representation of that is, I go on television sometimes to talk about what we're doing, and inevitably, the social media will light up, and half the people say I'm in the tank for Hillary, and the other half say I'm in the tank for Trump. So I guess we're doing something right if we're getting attacked from both sides.
Well, and the nature of politics these days is so social media surface related, where sometimes we lose sight of the issues and such, and with all of the footage that you compile in a week and you break it down to your edited, the show's an hour long, what have you left out of the program that you really regretted?
Well, so much. I mean, this week is the best example of that. I mean, I just think about all the stuff that happened this week at the Republican convention. I mean, it was so dramatic and so interesting, and we could easily have done a 2-hour show this Sunday, and we have to leave so much on the cutting floor. The only saving grace to all that is I know at the end of all this we can probably make a great movie or maybe a couple of great movies and use a lot of this material that we haven't been able to use. But yeah, this week we had to cut I was up all night just cutting stuff, and we were like, oh no, not that. We love that, but it's really hard.
Right. Well, and really, it's going to give our future generations a history lesson in sort of how this all went down. And you can only imagine 50, 60 years from now when people look back and they go, do you remember when elections were civilized like this one back in 2016? And, now they fight to the death in a Hunger Games kind of environment.
One of the most rewarding things for me has been that I hear that a lot of parents and also high school teachers are watching and asking their students to watch the show, and a lot of young people are watching, which is great, because one of the points of the show, my ambition, was that people would watch this and despite the circus, would actually feel better about what happens in the process and learn something about these candidates that they wouldn't otherwise know.
So I think, the Comey episode was my favorite, mainly because I had a few spots where I was in there, got some FaceTime. So
Wasn't
I just
that
want to say
fascinating?
publicly
we had a seat for history, and that was an amazing hearing to me. Comey was he was such a good witness, and I had two lessons there as far as where we were sitting. One is, I wish that I had you can't take bathroom breaks and you can't show any facial expressions, so it's pretty tough to be in that seat.
Well, there was some controversy because there was a young guy behind us that was making all sort of snarky faces. And as a joke, prior to going in there, I mentioned to my niece, who works in Congressman Chaffetz's office, that's what I was going to do. So when they were getting all these calls, she was freaking out, thinking it was me behind the, So I almost had an international incident within the family there. But
yeah.
Let me ask you a question, because in terms of your connections with in the political landscape and all the work that you've done and who you've met and had relationships with, you have a really solid, good relationship with George W. Bush. And tell me, the things about George W. Bush that he gets treated unfairly on, because both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump have definite the public has definite opinions about them, both on a positive and extremely negative side. And George Bush had that as well. But you know him personally. What did the public not know about him, or did know about him that maybe that was either justified or unjustified?
One of the reasons I like making this show is that we go beyond kind of the cardboard caricatures that people make of these candidates, like they did of George W. Bush, like a lot of others did about Obama. George W. Bush, no matter what you think about his politics, is one of the most decent, honorable, engaging human beings with just great values and great family, great energy. He's just he's a wonderful guy to be around, and he may not go down as one of the better presidents in history, but I bet he goes down as one of the best ex-presidents. He's been such an honorable guy, and has gone out of his way to make sure that Obama could do his thing without getting in his business. And in fact, the only public speech that I can remember that he's done is a couple of weeks ago in Dallas after the shooting, when he was invited by both the mayor and encouraged by President Obama to come out and speak. But otherwise, he's an honorable guy and a very decent family and great values. And the other thing I was going to say is that people have this notion that he's not smart, which is just ridiculous. He is one of the most street smart people that I've ever worked with in politics. I mean, just that innate, super smart, just crackling smart street sensibility.
That's the point that I make with all of these politicians, is that they don't get to this point by being stupid. And when we sit and listen about the Hillary Clinton thing, about her being unsophisticated and she doesn't understand this or understand, that really rubs me the wrong way, because I know these people are extraordinarily smart, including Barack Obama. And so if I disagree with them, I disagree with them based on the fact that, that they know what they're doing, not because that they're idiots. And I think that was really what bugged me about, George W. Bush, was when you'd have kids, it became the cliche to call them stupid or dumb, then that was the late night talk show sort of mantra,
Exactly right. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing about the show is you see the crucible that these candidates have to go through in order to get elected, and you don't get there by being a little light upstairs, I guarantee you.
So two more things, and I know I want to let you go because I know you got a big show to produce this week, and I don't want to keep it too long.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Similar to the HBO show where they take the cameras behind the NFL teams, preseason and all that. Yeah. There's a lot of reluctancy on those teams' parts because they feel like they're giving away secrets, or that they're sort of showing some of their weakness. Do you feel who has sort of welcomed you in more, and are the candidates comfortable? It seems like they're very comfortable with you being there and everything, but they must say, "Don't put that in," or put
sure.
Put this in here.
When I worked on campaigns, it was kind of my job to keep people like me from what I'm doing right now, to keep them out. But some things have changed. I mean, one of them is that voters today have a huge appetite for authenticity. I mean, they just don't believe political advertising. They don't believe speeches and things they see on television. They don't, they just see it all as scripted, and they think people are lying to them. So anything that can communicate an ounce of authenticity has huge power. So the campaigns get that. In fact, one of the inspirations for this show was the documentary called Mitt, which was about Mitt Romney, that showed after the election, and one of the caveats when they agreed to do the film was they said you can't show this till after the election. Well, everybody saw, the people who saw that, including me, after the election looked at that and said, well, where was that guy during the election? I mean, it was this really compelling, compassionate, charitable character that we never saw during the election. And so I think people get that. I know that most of the campaigns we've been working with, we work it really hard, of course, and we have long relationships, and that helps. But I think they also get that it's more important in today's media age, in today's politics, to show a more human side, because voters are just so hungry for that. And so you ask who, in terms of the candidates, who were the best. Bernie Sanders was fantastic. I mean, that campaign, we got, we were inside and we were with them at just amazing moments and really touching, compelling human drama. His wife Jane Sanders became kind of a rock star on the show, and his funny, just sort of get off my lawn surly thing was powerful because it was authentic. He was Bernie, and I think that because they did that, I don't want to say there was any direct cause and effect, but it certainly was good for their campaign to show this side of Bernie Sanders and his wife Jane Sanders that most of the public hadn't seen, and they saw it and they really liked it. And so I think that and by the way, just to show you the kind of access that we're getting on tonight's episode, Mark Halpern flies with Donald Trump from Cleveland in a little tiny plane. I mean, it's like 4 or 5 people on the whole plane, and it's just Mark and Donald Trump, and Mark has a camera and videotapes Trump, much of which will be on the show tonight.
And that it airs at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Showtime, right?
I'm trying to get my time zones right. I think it's 9, actually.
Well, so many people like myself, I have it on my phone on the Showtime app. I've got it on my DVR recorder, so I never know what time I'm supposed to watch something. But I mean, it's easily available to everybody, and and I want to make sure that you get back to work, and maybe we can get you after the conventions.
Well, I appreciate it a lot.
When
Thanks for having me on. And if you can't, if your listeners can check the show out tonight, because I think it may be our best episode of the whole year so far tonight. It's a really good one.
Well, you say that every week, but you're right every week. So I think that
it gets better and better.
It gets better and better. So thank you so much, Mark McKinnon, everybody, the creator of the show, The Circus, and what an amazing insight this is into the political landscape. And I want to thank Mark for taking time out. You know how busy this guy is. I mean, think about what he said. I mean, these crews are all over shooting hundreds.